So, my name is Kirby, and I felt the need to start documenting my experience that I'm having with what is called PNES, which is non-epileptic seizures. I got diagnosed this last weekend and have been having seizures for a little over 2 weeks. So let me just start out by saying that I feel like I'm one of the lucky ones, so to speak, that they were able to catch an episode with a video EEG and feel clear enough that they are non-epileptic seizures. So, but I feel like there is a lack of realness in understanding what it is. The neurologists, the psychiatrists, they still don't completely understand what it is either. So for me, I feel like I need to, maybe it's for my own process, maybe it's for the process of other people. My dog's walking around. But I feel the need to express the emotions it can bring up and what it can make you feel like. So just briefly on it, from my understanding, which is very limited at this point because it seems like generally the understanding of it is limited. PNES, the non-epileptic seizures, they are seizures, but they're not caused by the abnormal spikes in the brain waves. It's not it's not the brain waves all going at one time into an extreme spike, like a chemical thing. So that is good news. However, they don't know what's causing them because they're clearly seizures. They're clearly what they've proved is that they're uncontrollable. I can't control when I'm having a seizure. I can't just make it stop. So they have seen them most commonly in trauma victims or victims of childhood abuse and things like that, and they've been referring to them as conversion disorders, which, let me tell you, at first I heard that and it all sounds like gibberish to me. But a conversion disorder essentially is when your body, your brain will have your body physically manifest things that you're not verbalizing. And again, this is all not in your own consciousness. This is what's crazy about it. But so conversion disorder would be in cases of extreme trauma. People who don't remember the event, they know it happened, but they don't remember it. It's like being held in their body, and you have to have a way of expressing it, right? So they are saying that there might be a connection between those. However, it's not just, PNES is not conversion disorder. They can be seen hand in hand. So for patients who can't pinpoint or put a finger on a traumatic event or are not severely depressed at the time or are struggling with anxiety, which, let me say, is real. It's not, I'll share a link on a video that they just talked about, a neurologist and psychologist with it, but there are people with PNES that don't have trauma to point back to or who are not depressed. I myself, just to be a little vulnerable, I have a little bit of trauma in my life. I kind of feel like, who doesn't? But I, years ago, gosh, I guess like 8 years ago now, I did struggle with depression for a small time. And then I haven't since. It's been fine since. Not saying life is perfect, obviously, but what I would call the depression that I dealt with then, I've never experienced anything close to it since then. And I'm not on medication. I lead a pretty happy life. So the first thing, on my own opinion, with all of this, from being someone who just got this diagnosis, is it's not going to make sense. I have spent this entire last few days trying to find somewhere that it can make sense or target a thing, because maybe I'll feel a little more like I have control if I could figure out where it might be connected or what's going on. But it's not going to make sense. And then also, depending on who explains it to you, it may really not make sense. Because they just don't know. They don't know how to explain it for the most part. They don't know what it is for the most part. So, first and foremost, it's okay that it doesn't make sense. You're not crazy. It doesn't have to make sense, although it would be helpful. I just don't think it's going to. Even with epileptic seizures, they don't completely make sense. So the first thing right now I have to let go of is searching for, not even the answer at this point, but searching for the area where, okay, that makes a little bit of sense in my brain, so I'll hold on to that for security, or I'll hold on to that to feel like I have a little control. I can't find it. If anybody else has PNES and they can find it, then help sister out, share it, because for me, I have to just let that factor go, that it's not going to make sense to me right now. I just got on a rant there, but I just want to share a little bit of my experience being diagnosed, because I feel like people who have struggled with this for a lot longer, or people who are depressed or have a tendency towards anxiety, I don't know how you would react to this. So let me just explain it. We had been passed around basically to doctor. I'd been in the ER 4 times for these seizures, and they were very close to putting me on an anti-seizure medication. Thankfully, we had one ER doctor. I don't mean to be mean, but we finally had one ER doctor who really took the time to explain to us, we're not sure. And if you go this route, this is what it's going to look like. This is what medication would look like. This is what it means. If you get on, it's harder to get off. It can affect your EEG. He really took the time and sat down with me and my husband to say, this is what I would do. And so essentially, instead of just getting on the seizure medication, which was tempting because I want these to stop, after speaking with him, they transferred us to a hospital that had EEG capabilities. So we decided to do that. So I got admitted, I think, for about 2 days. And of course, right when I got into that hospital, I had an episode, and I wasn't hooked up yet. So we were kind of like, we missed it. So the next day, I did end up having an episode they didn't get the video part, because for me, it's when I'm up, not when I'm sitting, but I was up, and thankfully my mom actually recorded it on her phone, and it was recorded on the EEG as far as what my brain waves were doing. So, I had a neurologist come in, and he was very compassionate and very nice. I think he did the best he knew how, because there's just such a lack of information on PNES that, he explained that it was not epileptic seizures, that it is my body having a seizure. It's not that I'm making them happening. And he looked right at my family and said, it's not that she's putting this on or faking it, which I don't think anybody was thinking that, but I appreciated him saying it, because the second you can't target why it's happening, or it doesn't show up on a brainwave in the typical way, that just pops up of like, oh, are these people going to think that because they can't produce a test result, are they going to look at me like I'm just producing them on my own, So I appreciated him taking the time to hit that point. But he really couldn't explain what it meant or what to do next. He had a psychiatrist come in and speak with me, which I appreciated. And but we left the ER, or the hospital there, with a packet of information that had just been printed off the web about PNES. And that information from the web essentially says, we don't know the causes. This is kind of what we're seeing. Maybe trauma, maybe depression, maybe behavioral disorders. But there is a direct connection and correlation between neurology and psychology for this. So the recommended treatment is to have those two kind of work together. That's what the paper said, and everything I've researched since has said that. However, every doctor I have seen since, if it's a neurologist, just kind of scooted me along towards getting psychiatric help. And let me just go ahead and say, at this point, I've been having these atypicals about twice a day since the 17th, and I know that is not a long time compared to what most people have had to deal with. In that short amount of time of having them that often, I will do anything they recommend to get these to stop. I am not opposed to going and talking to a psychologist. I've been in counseling before. I currently am in counseling. We were actually about to stop. I was doing some grief counseling because my father recently passed away. So I'm not against that by any means, but you get such conflicting thoughts with this, and everything I'm seeing the experts say is that there has to be a direct work between a psychiatrist or a psychologist and a neurologist, because it's a neuropsychological disorder or condition. It's not just psychological, it's not just neurological, which makes it complicated, which is why I gotta let go, not making it understand. Anyway, so that brings me to the first experience that I had where I really went, this has got me emotional and I just don't know what to do, and all the emotions came up of, we'll get into that. I had an appointment yesterday with a neurologist that was closer to me. They told me to make sure I kept that appointment, and I think after reading what they read online, they thought, you need a neurologist? You know, so you can have your neurologist and your psychologist or therapist. So we went. And he walked in already knowing I had been diagnosed, already looking at all of the chart, which is great. He was prepared. But because of that, he walked in saying there's nothing I need to do. And quite honestly, his entire approach, he actually used the words, you know, you don't have epilepsy. It's way better. It's way better that you have this instead of epilepsy. So there's nothing I can do for you. So go see your counselor. You'll be fine. Those were his exact words. Now, am I absolutely grateful and feel blessed that it is not epilepsy? Absolutely. Absolutely. Am I so thankful to hear that it's not causing brain damage? Absolutely. Am I thrilled that all of the tests that they did leading up to this, you know, the MRIs and the EEGs and all that, came back as somewhat normal or clear? You know, no brain tumors, no lesions, no epilepsy. Absolutely. We were saying praise Jesus every time a test result came back negative. We were the first ones to go, oh, thank you, Lord. Oh, thank you, Lord. Okay, so nowhere do I feel like, at least, I've had a stance of, like, wanting it to be something worse. And I don't know if that's part of the stigma that maybe neurologists have gotten with PNES or what, but I'm there not because I want to hear something bad. I'm there because I want them to go away. I want them to be better. I want to get back to my old self and my normal life. So there's a little rant, number one, of emotions it brings up clearly. So for him to all in one breath say, you know, you're kind of not my problem and go see counselor, you'll be fine. Somewhere I needed a little more validation in that, or a little more, I needed something else from him. You know, I understand if he didn't feel like he needed to be the neurologist for my case. Or I even understand if he's not been trained in this to know that there is supposed to be a neurologist involved. Maybe he doesn't know that. Maybe the only thing he's ever seen or come in contact with it is that neurologists have nothing to do with it. That could be. There's so little known about this, that absolutely could be. So let's give him that benefit of the doubt there. And he did say he has only seen maybe one case of it, and when he did, he referred her off. Benefited out there, fine. That's how you've been trained. That's what you're told to do. The approach needs to be very different. Because here's where I'm thinking. I told my husband this. I said, if I were someone, or if I backed up to that state where I dealt with that depression, and this had been happening, holy moly, would it be triggered to the max right now. And then if I had walked in feeling very vulnerable after this diagnosis of not understanding, still looking for a little guidance, and that had been the response, I'm not so sure I would have taken any advice of his. I'm not, just to say go to your counselor, you'll be fine. I don't know what I would have done. I'll tell you how I felt right after. Right after, I felt completely helpless. I felt like I already don't have control over what's happening, and this guy just made it sound like a light switch. Oh, that'll be easy. Just turn the light switch on. Just go to counseling. If counseling was the answer, then why did they start happening while I was in counseling? Or, and again, maybe it is the answer. I'm not that far along. I just felt like I needed to share this as it's happening, not after the fact down the road encouragement. Like right now, this is how I'm feeling. If you can't give me an answer, just don't give me an answer. Don't make it feel like there should be no struggle involved with it, because there's a lot of struggle involved with it. It may not be epileptic seizures, and again, praise God that it's not, but I'm not allowed to drive. I have not been able to work. I'm not doing my normal life activities at all, which everybody who knows from depression before or has ever studied anything like that knows that can be a trigger of depression. You sit around, you don't do anything, you're going to get somewhat depressed, right? So everything has kind of been put on pause. But the worst part is you can't just pause life and go, okay, well, I'm going to hit the pause button while we figure this out. I'll let you guys know. Then we'll resume. You can't do that. I can't tell my job, hey, you know what, in 2 to 3 weeks, I should be regulated, not having seizures anymore. I'll come back to work. There's no guidance like that whatsoever with this. There's no, within this amount of time, they see people that, if anything, the statistics that you can actually read about it, a lot of people continue having them because they're not getting the right treatment. They're not getting the neurological and the psychological. They're just being treated one extreme or the other extreme, and they continue happening. So I left there and I just cried. I just cried when I got in the car, and it was a mix of emotions of, we don't know what to do. They really don't know anything about it. I just wasted a copay on this guy, which, let me tell you, the medical bills are racking up. I was angry because of how he approached it, and then the other side of me is like, well, he just doesn't know. It just added to the list of people that just don't know, and people that have not been able to help. And I feel like desperately right now what me and my family are looking for is just someone to offer help, even if it's, hey, we don't understand it either, but we're here with you, and we're going to walk with you till we figure this out. Like, there's been no help. It's been passing the buck. Well, your CT looks good, go home. They thought initially it was all because of a concussion. And then every time we'd go back to the ER, okay, well, what new symptom? Why are you here now? No one took the time to explain to my husband, if she's having this seizure activity, what to do. Or, don't worry, it's not causing this or this, like, just keep her safe. No one took that time to explain to him what to do. So what are we supposed to do? So, it's frustrating. And again, right now, my process is that I'm trying to let go of the fact that I'm not going to understand it. I'm not ever going to have a firm grasp on what's happening until maybe the other side of this. Because I am faithfully believing there is another side to this. And that we are all so individual and so different that, you know what, it may not look the same for everybody because it's a mixture of the neuropsychological disorder. I imagine it can look very different. So, yeah, that's just, I know if anybody watches these, I don't blame you if you don't, I've just been going on a rant. But if anybody happens to watch it, if you happen to have just gotten diagnosed with PNES, or if you've been living with it for a while and you don't know that's what it is, or you're being treated for seizures and they're not getting better, I would highly recommend, the biggest recommendation right now is going to an epilepsy center, because they have the most information on these, and they work the most with neurologists as well as psychologists. They have psychologists involved now too. But I guess for me, if you're anywhere in the same time frame, I don't know if his emotions will last or get worse or get better. Like, you're not crazy. You're not crazy. Like I said, I'm so thankful for the neurologist who gave me the diagnosis and said, this is not something you can control. He said it would be like telling someone having an epileptic seizure, now that you know it's epilepsy, just stop. You know, and that's the feel that I kind of got from the other neurologist yesterday. Well, now that you know it's not epilepsy, just stop. Just go to your counselor and they'll stop. Like, I have that control. So, you're not in control of what's happening. You have a ton of people who are with you and behind you, even if you don't have a support system. I'm so blessed to have a good support system to help me through this right now. My husband's amazing. But if you don't have that around you, or if people are confused by it and don't know how to react to it, just know you've got people who understand and who are standing with you and saying, you can't control these. You don't understand them. We don't understand them, but we're here. And as they continue to learn more about non-epileptic seizures, maybe we can impact that. Maybe we can help shed a little light on it doesn't fit in this box. And they already know that, but you know, you can't just say I heard that psychologists see it happen and they get so scared that it's something medical and that they could get, you know, in trouble or not catch it, that they instantly say, I can't see again until you go to a neurologist, right? Get cleared there. Well, then a neurologist, because they don't really understand it, they try to just pass the buck right back. So you're stuck in the middle here somewhere going, I just need help. That's where I feel like right now. We are in the process of changing our entire world. I have to remind myself it's temporary. I believe it's temporary. I believe 100% it will be temporary. But we have to change our entire world right now because I can't work and because of having these seizures. So while that's going on, we just want someone to help. It's not even about getting answers from me right now. I just want someone to come alongside us and say, this was your diagnosis. We're here. We're here and we're going to try to figure out what's best for you. Like, that's all we want. So, I am going to share a link below of, it's a little bit long, I think it's like an hour, but I think it was through Stanford, and there's a psychologist and neurologist, he's got both degrees, and then there's a neurologist, there's 3 of them, and they're talking about what is PNES, why does it differ from epileptic seizures, how it should be approached, how it should be treated, and you'll see this theme throughout if you watch the whole video, which I do recommend if you know someone or you are someone going through it, because they explain it in a way that even though they can't give you answers and they can't say here's why, they explain it in a way that you at least have a foundation of, okay, this is kind of what's going on with me. But you'll see the common theme throughout is we don't know. We don't know enough. This is what's been working. This is what typically doesn't work, you know. And they hit so strongly on needing to have a relationship between a neurologist and the person treating you psychologically or through counseling. They have to be able to have a relationship to know what's going on, because they say it many times throughout the video. It's not a psychological disorder. It's not a neurological disorder. It is a psychological disorder. It's neurological and psychological. So I'm going to share that. I hope and pray that if anybody else who happens to watch this, like I said, if you know somebody going through this or you suspect, you know, maybe it's PNES instead of seizure. By the way, you can have both. But if you know someone going through this, just try to support them however you can. Just be there for them. Just, if they need to be emotional and vent it out, just let them do it. They're not looking, we're not looking for you to give us the right answer. We're just looking to have the support there that's going to go, I know, I don't get it, I know, I'm here for you, what can we do, what do we need, but I know, you know. And if you're someone going through it, know you're not alone in that. And if you can't get a strong support system, then comment, do anything that would show you need more support. Please be vulnerable. Please know that if you need more support through this, the strongest thing you can do is say so. Because it's partially psychological. You're not meant or made to carry this weight alone. And you don't have to. So anyway, this ended up being much longer than what I was going to have it, and I was going to have it more of like a brief introduction of what PNES was, but I realized I can't explain it. And like I said before, pretty much nobody can, except I am sharing the link for the video. They do the best job I've seen so far, and they are legit doctors through Stanford. It's not just opinions, so don't just take my opinion for anything, because right now I'm just all kinds of confused, not just because of the seizures, but because of the information I'm being given. I will probably share more on this journey because it's a really good way for me to process. Normally I write or I journal, and there's just not a way for me to do it right now. So thank you. Anybody, is one person who watches, nobody who watches, but thank you for letting me put this out there. And you're not alone. And I believe that God is there with us all. He's faithful. He's good, even in the midst of things that He doesn't want to be happening. He doesn't want this for us. He's there holding us. And He can see way bigger than we can. So try to remember it's temporary. I'm speaking to myself. It's temporary right now. And who knows, maybe big picture, we can be part of the people who get this figured out and get more treatment and can help people moving forward not feel so abandoned and alone with it. Anyway, that's all. Love you all.